Terrific. Yep. Okay. Yeah, mate, I can hear you fine. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Yeah, that'd be great to have her on board. Yep. Okay. Yeah, she just sent you a yeah, that's right. So that's exactly what happens, right? When you sent that link over, it just sends us to the promo page on LinkedIn, kind of thing. So it doesn't really kind of give us the actual instructions. So I think from here, we need to send that live link or whatever that was, that request to join, I think is what got me in. It's almost like there's like two different kinds of URL links, right? Like one sends you to the promo page and you got to register, and then the other one, kind of basically gets you in. Yeah. Oh, maybe that was right. Got it. Okay, that's cool. Yep. Might not. Got it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's super handy. Part of the part of the problem is yeah, us consultants tend to have like 2 and 3 and 4 email addresses is the problem. Yeah. 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 No, quite. I wouldn't expect so. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Let her in. Yay! We got her. She's on mute. That's all. Yeah. There you go.
Second. Yes, I can hear you. I was
Yay!
Yeah, all good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's rock on.
1 second, yeah. My laptop is very slow. Trying to move myself, but my laptop is.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Reggae calm. Very cool.
Yes, I can. This is Pauline speaking.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi. Yes.
I missed that bit, but I could catch up. Sure.
Pauline, would you like to go first?
Okay, well, thank you everybody for this opportunity, because we were slightly trepidatious to begin with, but we thought, no, this will actually galvanize our thinking. And it's been a good learning curve. We've deployed teamwork, and thanks to our editor, Ella, as well. And also, I think it's an opportunity to build our community. So thank you to you all for the opportunity. So I'll hand over to Becca.
Hello. Yes, so thank you so much. We're really, really happy about this. I'm not sure what to add to what Pauline said. Apart from, yes, it's been, it's actually been a nice exercise to do, getting in touch with, for me, lots of kind of old contacts, and also just seeing how excited people have been about it. Both of us have had really positive feedback from, the people that we've kind of contacted about it. And so, yeah, we're really happy. We're really positive. And yeah, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Well, go ahead, Becca.
No, Pauline.
We're trying to fill a gap here because of lived experience with bereavement, with health issues, in terms of the offer, in terms of meditation apps and soundscapes that are out there. And the fact that Becca is a reggae DJ from Devon originally. I mean, London is the only place you get that kind of mix. And as myself, as a communication specialist and broadcaster, we decided to pool our skills and experience. So we feel we are filling a gap, we are meeting a need, and we're hoping to reach out to therapists, the NHS, and corporates as well. So that's the raison d'etre of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. No, probably not at this stage. I mean, we do have some interesting kind of further stories about how it came into being, but I think maybe we'll save those, for later on.
More to come down the road when you get on the bus.
Yeah.
No, I mean, other than to say congratulations, I think it's wonderful. I actually have used several of those kind of online meditative apps, which I find really interesting because I really poo-pooed them, to before, because they were always ever kind of couched as a wellness therapy and all this other kind of slightly woo-woo stuff. And you know what I mean? In the midst of my crazy busy day, very businessy oriented and everything else. I'm like, I don't have time for wellness. I gotta start kicking some butt. I gotta get myself moving. And so there's me screaming at myself and causing more and more cortisone to come coursing through my veins. But then weirdly, just started listening to a couple of those things and fell fast asleep. I was like, whoa, this is powerful. But you know what was always weird about it is exactly that issue, right? Is that it's almost too relaxing, and it's like you got some weird person like whispering in your ear, and you're sort of like your brain is like, who is this? And what is that? What's with that pronunciation? Your brain just kind of goes to funny places. But what I like about what you guys are doing is this notion of having, kind of like a known platform, musical platform that people can identify with. Everybody loves a bit of Marley. And everybody on the planet's heard them. And so it's a very, very recognizable type of music, and it's got this lovely kind of gentle syncopated beat to it. And to your point, it also has sort of the celebratory, kind of use of instruments and things of that nature, which kind of immediately, for whatever reason, just puts you in a good state of mind. You know what I mean? And so it's just something about it that's a really interesting kind of thread. So I love the creativity, the way you guys came together on that notion, and kind of made the business your own. So that's great. What kind of traction are you getting with anybody at this stage, or is it just still very early days formative?
Pauline, we've
it's
had
early.
one, haven't we?
Yes, it's early days, but already had an inquiry, received funding. So yeah,
Great.
just
Good.
following through.
Excellent. Well, yeah, just I mean, to Anton's point, right? Just listen, ask them a lot of questions in terms of after they've kind of experienced it and had fun with it and everything else, and kind of push them beyond the polite. Yeah, it was really lovely. Thanks very much. And just try to kind of get into their heads about, well, what was special about it, and what suggestions would you make for improvements and things of that nature. Really kind of like almost like as if you're operating as a consultant, trying to understand your business even better. And just really drill people on it. You'll be fascinated, what their insights are, and oftentimes that can really lead to some interesting breakthroughs. So that's my 2 pence.
Brilliant, thank you.
Very useful, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
You might need to unmute her. Oh, there she is. She's unmuted.
Margaret, can you hear us?
She, I think, mentioned to us that her laptop had frozen previously, so maybe she's having some restart issues. Yeah, that might be the issue. Yeah.
That's great.
Hey, Anton, Becca wants to add one more thing before you go.
Yeah, just one last thing. Ref what Jeff was saying about kind of being too relaxing. We have actually got a productivity soundscape in development. So, so when you're trying to work, something to just keep you going.
I like that. That's a cool idea. I can see
Yeah.
reggae piped in my office all day long, keeping me grooving.
We'll have to give that one a name of Jeff vibing.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
well done, guys.
I could hear you the whole time.
Oh dear. Sorry, we can hear you.
You can't hear me? Yeah, no, I know. I could hear you the whole time. There's some issues with the mic, like it said it was disabled, and then even though it wasn't disabled, it just said it wasn't working. So I could hear you the whole time. No issues there.
Gotta love technology.
It's not straightforward.
No, never is. Never is. It's brilliant when it works, but oh my God. When it goes bad, it goes terribly bad. Quick, switch to reggae.
We need some stress relief now.
We totally need some stress relief. That should be the default kind of covering, right? As people are trying to sort out their technical issues. Just crank up a bit of Bob.
So, are you ready?
Rock on.
Okie dokie. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Startup Talent Q&A. We've been doing this for almost 4 years now, and it's our 147th session. The idea is quite simple. We're here to help startups like yourselves with whatever questions you may have in terms of your talent journey. And by the way, for the others, if you can, please mute your mics because it creates an echo. That would be very much appreciated. Or actually, don't worry, I can do that. Where are we? We've got Margaret. We've got Becca. Yep, perfect. So, Margaret again is unmuted. And it's creating an echo. I'm sorry, Margaret. Perfect. Okay, good stuff. So we're here to help startups with whatever questions you may have as you go about finding, keeping, hiring, and empowering the right people for your business. You see, unfortunately, over 90% of startups fail. And the top 3 reasons for that are 1, market fit, 2, running out of money, and 3, not having the right people. But actually, when you really think about it, it all comes down to one thing. If you've got the right people, you are much more likely to do things right and not only survive, but actually thrive. Hopefully, we'll be able to help you with that today. Whether you have got questions on how and where to find the right people, perhaps how to interview them, how to test them, how to make sure that, you've interviewed a person a certain way and now you need to interview them or interview somebody else in a different way that suits them best. Maybe how much to pay somebody else and how to actually come up with a job spec that would attract people and all that jazz. This is the place to be. We are going to be doing this for the next half an hour-ish. What's the time now? So for the next 35 minutes now, and then we will basically initially start with taking some questions from the people that are here, or actually before that, sorry, we'll start with some introductions. Then Margaret and Jeff will tell us what are their biggest do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage talent. And then after that, we will take questions from people in the audience. Now, some important things to remember. For those of you that are tuning in via YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, and I can see quite a few of you, please just be aware that unfortunately, we're unable to monitor your questions there. And there's no point of you messaging me via any of these platforms, or commenting there, which, yes, we are grateful that you are tuning in. But again, if you do want to join us, you need to be here interactively on Microsoft Teams. The best way or the easiest way to do that is to go onto our website, StartUp to ScaleUp.club, where you'll be able to get to today's session, which is Startup Talent Q&A 147. Once you're there, click join. It's a quick registration, and then you'll be here on Microsoft Teams. When you're here, you can type your question on in the chat here, and then I will unmute you and give you the mic so that you can ask our two amazing panelists that we have today here. Now, in terms of questions, there are no right or wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. We've had over 270,000 people join these sessions, where we've helped about 2,000 founders, and we've done it for free, and hopefully we'll keep going. So in terms of your questions today, by the way, if they're not on talent, please save them for the other events we do. On Mondays, as you can see, obviously it's talent, but then Tuesdays is product and tech, Wednesdays it's growth, Thursdays it's fundraising, second Friday of the month it's legal, and third Friday of the month it's finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and normally you would find them all on our website, startup to scaleup.club, although it's only today's session that is live. The others will be live by this evening. But what you might want to do is, when you go to our website, is actually click on the WhatsApp icon at the top or bottom of the page there, and you'll be able to join our WhatsApp group, where you'll get alerts to all future rooms. Now, I don't think Margaret and Jeff, you didn't get a chance to introduce yourself, did you?
No, did not.
No. Right. So I'll give a quick intro and then pass it over to you. My name's Anton Call. I'm an Albanian in London, working with startups normally right after they get investment. I embed within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I also do some other work as a growth advisor with a few other startups and accelerators. And lately, I've been helping some angels and family offices with their due diligence and assessment. And now let's go on to Margaret and then Jeff, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Margaret Wuj. I have been working in the talent space for close to 2 decades. I've been working as a recruiter for a number of tech organizations, both startups and also large tech companies and mid-sized organizations, recruiting across all different functions, all corporate roles and engineering across Europe, and also Latin America and the US. Apart from that, I'm an interview coach and trainer, so I'll be happy to help with anything related to hiring, training, and interviewing.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm Jeff Wellstead. I have been in HR for, 35 years now. And the last 2 decades, I have been focused on helping fast growth, tech, biotech, and all sorts of different types of tech companies basically manage and, build out and then manage their talent strategy, their people strategy. So typically the companies I've worked with usually start with sub 50 employees, and they have ambitions to grow, to globally scale, and go up to 250 to 500 people in a very short space of time. And it's a very, very dangerous time. As much as that obviously points to a lot of success, getting it wrong can be quite damaging to the organization. So I love to help organizations kind of put all that in place. I also love HR technology, and importantly, even more so AI, because the use cases are just vast. And so I've really dived into, for the last 2 years, dived into kind of using AI tools, machine learning tools and all sorts in the HR context, as well as working with a number of HR tech vendors and building out their product roadmap and go-to-market strategies and things of that nature. So I can kind of comment about, similar to Anton and Margaret for that matter, across the entire spectrum of sort of the employee life cycle. That's it.
Thank you very much to both of you. Really appreciate that. Now, you're still unmuted, Jeff, so you can go first. What would you say are your biggest do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage hiring?
Well, I mean, I think my biggest do, just in the context of the fact that people are funny, they're expensive, they are difficult to, kind of like make productive, to continue to motivate, to kind of help you basically create a competitive edge for your business. So you have to choose them very, very carefully, and you have to choose what types of people that you're desperately going to need in your organization to really accelerate, propel you forward. I know Margaret has said this in the past, and Margaret, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but I think it can't be understated enough. This issue of really understanding who you are in your business and what you're dead good at versus things that frankly are real blind spots for you, or things that you hate doing, or things that you're just not good at naturally. That is a great clue for you to go find that person and continue to do so as sort of a hiring mantra, from there on out. But I think that you also have to kind of also look at the underpinnings of the culture, the cultural values, and the desired behaviors you want from each individual, regardless of what they are particularly good or bad at. So it's really critical to get those two elements in there. Always hire for where you've got holes, where you've got issues, where you've got blind spots. And then always ever make sure that you've got your cultural components laid out and you're dead clear on the type of person who's going to be a great fit going forward. My don'ts would be simply just to kind of do the opposite of that, which is, kind of go hire friends and family, hire randomly because you like somebody and you get on with them. Those aren't good enough criteria. You need to basically find people who are going to challenge your way of thinking, who are going to continuously improve you as a person, as well as your organization. So I'll just be quiet and hand it over to Margaret.
Thank you very much, Chef. Yes, Margaret.
Yeah, thank you. So, one of the do's would be to hire for cultural fit and growth potential. So, startups evolve very quickly, and you need someone who's very adaptable. You need very adaptable team members who align with your mission. That's why very often startups, when I hire for startups, they typically want someone who's worked for a startup before, because they definitely won't get the same resources and the same structure that you would get in a large organization. So when you hire someone, just make sure that you ask some behavioral questions to gauge adaptability, teamwork, values. Look for candidates who demonstrate a growth mindset and a passion for problem solving, and potentially consider some skills assessment or trial projects rather than focusing purely on past experience. Another do would be to use personal networks and referrals. Because referred candidates often have stronger commitment, faster onboarding, and obviously they come with trusted recommendations. So you can offer referral bonuses or incentives to current employees and early investors, and also engage your network and mentors and industry peers to help you identify great talent. And you might also want to join some startup communities or Slack groups or LinkedIn forums to build those hiring pipelines. And maybe just the last don't would be to streamline the hiring process. So I would say limit interview rounds to maybe maximum 3, in ensuring that key decision makers are involved early, and communicate expectations and timelines and next steps to clarify, to clarify all the next steps clearly to candidates. And also instead of maybe a 4-week process with multiple decision points, try to maybe condense interviews into a focused week-long process with immediate feedback. And instead of don'ts, a big one will be to don't overpromise. So be honest about funding stage, workload expectations, potential challenges. Set realistic expectations about job responsibilities and career progression, and emphasize what the company can offer now. Could be learning opportunities, could be flexibility, while acknowledging future uncertainties. So don't say we'll IPO in 2 years, because frankly you don't know that. So you might just want to say we're growing fast, but there are still uncertainties as we scale, and your contributions will shape our success. And the last don't, I would say, don't prioritize speed over quality, because if you rush, a rushed hire can lead to inefficiencies, poor performance, and also it could be a cultural mismatch. So have a structured hiring process with clear evaluation criteria. That's very important. If you're really struggling to find the right fit, you might want to consider hiring freelancers or consultants as interim solutions, and just also ensure that every hire aligns with long-term business goals rather than just immediate needs. And as an example, if you're struggling to find a CTO, consider bringing in an experienced technical advisor or a fractional CTO while continuing to search for the right full-time hire.
That is brilliant stuff from both of you. I really appreciate that. Right here, I think we should now go on to some questions. Please remember to mute yourselves if you're not talking, because for some reason it's creating quite a bit of an echo both here and our live streams. So for those of you that I can see that have just joined some of our live streams, this is Startup Talent Q&A 147. We've been doing these for, dear Lord, almost 4 years now, where we're trying to help founders with whatever questions you have in terms of finding, hiring, keeping, and empowering the right people for your business. You see, unfortunately, over 90% of startups fail. And the top 3 reasons are 1, market fit, 2, running out of money, and 3, not having the right people. And hopefully, these sessions will help you with that 3rd reason, not only to survive, but hopefully to thrive. You see, there are no wrong questions and there's no need to be shy. You may have questions on how to find a co-founder, maybe where to find that early tech employee, or perhaps how much to pay your first commercial hire, or maybe how do you do things if you need to hire somebody who's overseas, how do you interview people, and all that jazz. If you are tuning in via LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions there. So you'll need to join us live here on Microsoft Teams and interactively. It's audio only, by the way. And you can do that by going to our website, startup-to-scaleup.club. Look for today's session, which is Startup Talent Q&A 147. Click join, quick registration, and then you'll get an email with a link. Now, some of the live streams already have that link, and some others, like I said, you can go and do that on our website. Once you're in here onto the Microsoft Teams call that we've got going, then all you need to do is type your question in the chat room, and we'll then read it out loud and give you the mic to ask the panelists yourself, of course. And by the way, we've only got 21 minutes to go now. So, and I can guarantee you that that tends to go much quicker than you'd expect it would. So perhaps if my 2 panelists would like to keep their answers as short as possible, I'd really appreciate it. We'll go with a question that was sent to us from Edinburgh. I'll read it out loud for those of you that are tuning in via the other platforms. And if you want, Margaret and Jeff, obviously you can also read it here just for your own sort of records. But so she says, I'm leading a seed stage edtech startup in Edinburgh that builds online learning platforms for schools, focusing on STEM education. As we bring on a full-time curricula director, I want to ensure we create an environment where they feel valued and motivated to stay long-term. What retention strategies can we implement for senior hires that are motivated by purpose and personal growth rather than just financial compensation? Additionally, how can we structure the role and culture to ensure they feel supported in their leadership role as the company scales? This is interesting. So we've got 2 questions. How can we build this for senior people that don't need the money, but they're doing it for purpose? And 2, how can we structure the role and the culture of the company to make them feel supported? You know what? Let's start with Jeff, and then we'll go to Margaret. Jeff?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Anton. That's a brilliant question. And arguably, it is absolutely one that stretches across every company's remit. So my experience across the last 20 years, working with as many as now 20 different companies, has very much been that people, when you're trying to convince people who have perfectly good jobs in name brands, decent incomes and benefits and all these other wonderful things, they've got stability in their lives, and you're trying to talk them out of that stability to come join your relative unknown organization, you don't necessarily have the most money to offer, the best benefits on the planet. It's not so much those material elements that you're going to be selling. The things that I found actually, and this has been backed up by lots of research, including from Google and a whole bunch of other sources, that people typically, the first 5 kind of critical motivators are very much working with a sense of purpose that is bigger than who they are, but that they definitely identify with. Sounds very familiar, right? It's the sort of thing that religions are founded on. There's an innate need within us to do something meaningful and purposeful. The other thing is working on incredibly fun stuff to work on. So basically this notion, this option that you can come out of your cubicle and come to our environment and basically blossom, like a field of wildflowers. This domain is yours to make of it what you will. That's really enticing. To work alongside brilliant people who are going to be supportive, hopefully non-ego driven, and are not going to be remotely political, but in fact are equally excited about the mission, but bring their own particular, kind of color of the rainbow to the process. I think that's super important as well. To be managed by people who are great at coaching, as opposed to being micromanagers, is super, super important for folks. And to be able to learn, from a manager is useful as well. And from a leadership perspective, to work in an environment where there is good, honest, leadership with integrity, with purpose, with a sense of greatness and vision to follow. You put those combinations together, those 5 elements together, and you are always ever going to be hyper successful in enticing great talent to quit their perfectly good job and come join your mission. So that would be my comment on that. Sustaining that is tough. This is an everyday exercise. This is not, some piece of paper saying these are our cultural values, this is our mission, this is our vision, blah, blah, blah. This actually has got to be a living, breathing experience for people on an everyday basis, especially when times get tough. So you can't forget that. And when you do stick to that, not only do you feel better about the kind of person you are in your organization, but they feel like, wow, they are really speaking a truth from deep within, and it's authentic and it's been proven. So that's super important for folks. But I guess, in the interest of time, I want to hand it over to Margaret, who I'm sure has some wonderful things to say.
Sorry, I just had to,
Yes, Margaret.
to unmute. Now, I mean, I think Jeff already mentioned a lot of really good points, especially about like aligning with the mission. So I think, since this is like education professionals, they typically, well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them are very purpose driven, so maybe you just need to like reinforce how the work directly impacts students, teachers, and also the future of STEM education. So, so in terms of the environment where they feel valued and motivated long term, I would give them a seat at the leadership table, like basically get them involved in strategic decision making, engage them in discussions about company's direction rather than just the curriculum development. You also want to like talk about the impact. So maybe set up feedback loops with teachers and students to share how the curriculum is making a difference. So that will reinforce the role's significance. And can you possibly create some external visibility for this person? So if they've done that, I want to do that. So perhaps you can encourage them to present at EdTech conferences or collaborate with educators or contribute to thought leadership in the field. So that can, things like that can keep them engaged in the startup purpose. And then in terms of retaining them, so I think, life, like educators, well, not just, I think a lot of people value lifelong learning. So how can you potentially support the professional development? Can you fund their attendance at any kind of like STEM education conferences or any kind of industry workshops? Can you potentially encourage them to mentor junior employees or serve as an advisor to other startups in your network, because that would reinforce their expertise as well. But basically, you want to position the role as an opportunity to shape the future of STEM learning at scale, and that can appeal to their long-term career ambitions. And Also, I think many senior level hires, they leave startups due to lack of clarity. That's a really big one. Lack of support, and also misalignment with leadership expectations. So it's very important that you set them up for success from day one. So you want to define the role, you want to have clear expectations, but also flexibility. So give them autonomy while setting clear expectations for leadership and curriculum goals, and also team collaboration. Have regular check-ins with founders to discuss vision alignment and obstacles. Do they need any support from you? And also, I don't know if this person will build their own team or not, but like if they feel ownership over, like, I mean, are you gonna maybe empower them to build their own team, because that'll probably make them more committed. But I think the main thing is that you give them a voice in key companies' decisions, like particularly in technology adoption and partnerships, and potentially school outreach as well. I think that's all that comes to mind.
That is brilliant stuff. Thank you very much to both of you. That is pure gold. Now,
actually, maybe one last one, because you mentioned like about the retainment. So, and I think Jeff might have mentioned some of that. Like the startup obviously may not match corporate salary, so use some long-term incentives to keep this person engaged. So, firstly, in terms of any kind of performance-based equity or bonuses, you can tie equity stakes or financial bonuses to measurable impact, like for example, school adoption rates or curriculum engagement metrics. Maybe you can allow them time for some like independent research or writing or curriculum experiments, because that can keep their work exciting. And potentially, I don't know about the size of the company, but potentially you can, like instead of giving them a fixed role, maybe explore pathways to like chief learning officer or VP of education as the company scales. So, and if your funding allows, you can offer some well-being benefits, like I don't know, wellness stipends or additional leave or flexible hours, because I think burnout is very common in education leadership, in education in general.
Thank you very much to both of you. And just before we move on to the next one, as somebody who's surrounded by people that have worked in education, including my own mother, they do it because they're passionate about it. But at the same time, you've got to remember that they've got a roof over their head that they need to maintain, and perhaps family to feed and all that jazz. So be aware of that as well. Yes, they want to do something meaningful. They also want to make the money that they need to and they believe they deserve. Therefore, please be realistic at the same time. Don't expect people to come in and work for you because, whatever idea you have. And I'll never forget from one of my clients who's now a friend, whenever people would ask him, to join their startup and so on, and say, look, we're unable to pay now, but we'll give you some shares and this and that. And he'd always, I'd say something that sounds a bit vulgar and mean, but he'd say, so what? Let me get this right. You want me to come and work for free so that you can build your dream? You want me to come and build your dream for free? So just bear that in mind. Try and see it from the other person's point of view as well, because that's quite important. But nevertheless, both brilliant points from Jeff and Margaret. And Pauline's asked a question in the chat, so we'll go to that before we go back to our question that was sent in. Pauline, I believe your mic is unmuted. That's a very good question that I actually get quite often on boards. But please, again, just a reminder for everybody, what is your business? Why do you want some clarity on that? And do you have anything specific in mind? Take it away, Pauline.
Well, I think you get a better product if you've got a wide perspective on what you're dealing with. And we're dealing with a wellness app, meditation, productivity soundscapes, sleep solutions, rise and shine in terms of mindset. And thinking that, we could do with some advice from people with specialisms, maybe from a medical point of view, maybe from a marketing point of view. And you know, how much difference, how different do you want people to be to how you are? Is that going to give you a bit more challenge and traction to be a more effective business? I don't know if Becca has any thoughts about that, but we are thinking about creating some kind of advisory board.
That is a very good point. And by the way, just for the others that are doing this via the live streams, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, Pauline's question was, are there any tips for creating an effective advisory board for your business? I'll give you my quick 2 pence and then pass you over to my experts here, Pauline. There's a few things to remember. Number one, I'm glad you touched on that point in terms of difference. Ideally, you want people that have what you don't have to be on your board, but you also want them to be really experienced and to have actually reached a certain track record in whatever expertise you need them for. And by the way, if you wouldn't mind muting, because it creates an echo for some reason. So you want them to be able to do that. Now, a few things to remember are that, you know, it's not easy to get somebody. One, you have to remember that you can't, you mentioned marketing. So boards are normally not people that will do the work for you, the operational work, but they will give you advice. The best boards and the best people, you should expect no more than maybe half a day, tops 1 day per month. Most of them are about half a day. Now, if you can pay them, that is brilliant. If you can't pay them, then it becomes a bit trickier, but you should always start with people you know, because you'd be surprised how sometimes you actually might be able to find the right people. And once you do that, what you want to do is you want to offer them equity. Now, unless you're getting, I don't know, Richard Branson or somebody of that caliber, it should never be more than about 0.5% of equity in your business. And again, you shouldn't be reaching out to them on a daily basis. But anytime you get a question that you think they might be able to help, you write it down and you save it for whenever the board meeting is. Try to keep it once a month, maybe about half a day. And if you're doing it online, that's brilliant. If you're getting them to meet in person, you definitely want to pay their expenses if you're not paying them at all. So maybe a good idea is initially to just do it online, like a video call or something like that. What you also want to include there, Pauline and Becca, is something called Cliff Invest or Vest and Cliff, depending on who says it and what is related. What that means basically is, let's say you've convinced Jeff and Margaret to come and become your advisors. What that means is that they would have to work for at least a year. And by the way, it's a 4-year cliff. So what you want them to do is to work for at least a year to merit any equity. And then after that year, they would get, let's say, 25% of the initial agreement, the second year, another 25%, and so on. So that basically you have an advisor that puts in quite a bit of work in terms of advice into your business, and they don't just sort of run away with a share, an equity of your business after falling out, you know, maybe after 2 weeks that they've been helping you. So that is really important. In terms of, you know, how to build an effective one, I would sit down with your co-founder and work on a product roadmap and like a business plan, basically. And by the way, don't worry about it, because that will change quite often, as it does in startups, but don't worry about that. But work out a business plan and especially a product roadmap. And there you'll then realize the expertise you have and the expertise you need to go to certain stages. So at the moment, focus on the first few stages. You know, don't think that that advisor is going to be there for life, even though it may, but you know, don't look at it that way. Look at it for the next, I don't know, let's say 2 to 4 years. What are you going to need for the next 2 to 4 years? That's what I would do. But I'd love to hear what Jeff and Margaret got to say. So again, we'll go to Margaret if you've got a minute or about that time, and then Jeff as well, please.
Yeah, sure. No, happy to go first because I actually have a call at 1, so we need to drop off after this. So, yeah, I mean, Anton has already given some great tips. I think before you recruit anyone, you need to be like very clear about why specifically you need that advisory board and what value they will actually bring to your business. So, are you looking for, you know, industry expertise? Are you looking for fundraising connections, for product strategy input? You know, do you need the advisors for like technical, operational, or any kind of, you know, regulatory advice? And also, like, will you meet them every quarter? And, you know, as Anton said, it's typically like a day. I have a friend who's on board of a few companies, and I think she does like a 1 day per 1 day per month, I think, with them, and she has some work to do at home as well. So you also like need to decide, like, will you meet quarterly, provide some ad hoc advice, you know, like, yeah. And also, I would just, because I now have a minute, like, you also want to select advisors who have like a really diverse and strategic skill set. So did you say it was a wellness app?
Correct.
Oh, wellness app. Okay, so like maybe look at people. I mean, you know, you can look at health and wellness industry experts, so any kind of nutritionists, fitness experts, psychologists, digital health specialists, you know, who can validate the science behind your app's wellness features. You can also look at maybe like SaaS or digital product growth leaders, you know, advisors who scale successful apps in wellness, in health tech, in consumer SaaS, because they can help with user acquisition, retention, and also monetization. Maybe you can look at behavioral science and user engagement experts. So are there any specialists in habit formation or behavioral psychology or gamification to actually ensure that the app drives real behavioral change? And also, if your app deals with like mental health or fitness tracking or any kind of medical related data, you might need some legal experts in like data privacy, for example. And also maybe like brand or community growth experts, so any kind of thought leaders in social media, influencer marketing, community driven growth. But you want to also maybe look for advisors who worked in digital wellness companies, like I use this app called Calm, and, you know, Headspace or Noom or Peloton, because I think their insights will be far more valuable than when it's like a, you know, generic kind of wellness advisor. And just maybe like one last thing, like when you approach them, you want to have like attract them by showing why they should join you, you know, so highlight your vision, your mission. You would when we want to offer some advisor equity. So I think, Anton, did you mention that? I think it's like, yeah, definitely less than 1%, maybe 0.25, rather than compensation if you can't pay them right now. And also potentially create some flexible involvement options, like maybe it's quarterly meetings, maybe it's one-on-one mentoring, you know, maybe introductions as needed. So you're probably gonna need to personalize your approach depending on the advisor, and explain like why their specific expertise is valuable, instead of just sending a generic invite.
That's superb. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just throw out.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that was amazing. It's like getting an instantaneous MBA and insight into everything between the two of you. So I'm not going to comment any further, and happy to kind of answer the following question.
Thank you very much for that to both of you. Margaret, you said you need to go.
Yeah,
We've got
I have
another.
a setting now.
That's okay. That's okay. I understand. Jeff, have you got time to stay for this question, or shall we wrap it up? You do.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Good man. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Pauline, I hope you found that helpful.
Exceptionally helpful. Thank you so much.
That is brilliant. Well, thank you very much for this. And again, please do keep joining us. By the way, especially this month, both you and Becca will get priority in asking questions if we're ever in a session where we have too many people that want to ask. Please bear that in mind, that for March, being our startup of the month, you'll be able to get priority. Obviously, you can't just, after 4 or 5 people have put the question there and then expected, but if you join early enough, would be more than happy to do that. I hope that's all right. And that's a very good question, and one that is often asked. So let's quickly go to this question in Guernsey. So I'm the co-founder of a pre-seed medtech startup in Guernsey, where we design portable diagnostic tools for healthcare professionals in rural areas. What strategies can we use to attract top talent to our startup, particularly when we don't yet have the brand recognition that larger companies enjoy, especially as we plan to hire people both remotely and hybrids? Additionally, how do we ensure we're recruiting a diverse group of candidates who align with our mission? So, Jeff, question number one, I guess, is how do we compete with established companies to get talent without having the brand recognition, and also when you want people remotely and hybrid? And then we can go on to the second question, is to ensure diversity in hiring, or you can do that at the same time, I guess. As the answer.
Sure. And these things obviously tie back to what I was talking about earlier. Again, this is sort of a kind of a formula, if you will, or a way of thinking about things when you're a startup that really creates an incredible environment and attracts the right people. This is a little bit trickier in that, number one, you're kind of working in a remote kind of arrangement, so you're not seeing people face to face, and therefore that kind of quick bonding and kind of observational behavior around things like nonverbal behaviors and reactions to things, and being able to kind of like find out what people are like inside and outside work. It gets a little harder, right? Because you're not there physically with them. And here it is, you're a med tech company, you're kind of basically wanting to get diagnostic equipment out to, kind of rural located GP offices and so forth. So here's the way I would look at it. I would try to dissect very quickly. It sounds fancy. It's not. What is your brand? What is your brand promise? What is it you're trying to bring to the world of these GPs in rural locations? There's got to be a powerful mission behind that, and something that truly is inspirational to get people excited about this process. They are going to need a very different kind of person, I would think, in alignment with your brand. And that kind of person would be very, very self-motivated, self-disciplined, super idealistic, and very, very kind of, thought forward leaning in terms of wanting to bring these technologies to offices that typically don't necessarily have access to fancy equipment like this. And so there's this notion that you are basically bettering the lives of people who live in places that are far away from major population centers, excuse me, and giving them the opportunity to avail themselves to kind of medical diagnostics and treatment, just like you might get in a place like Birmingham, or kind of wherever, London, or whatever the case. And so trying to find people who align with that brand is along with that brand notion is super important, align with that ideal. And you can test for that basically by by kind of spending some time just writing down what is powerful and special about your brand, about your mission, and about the vision you have for the organization. And then basically translate that into, these are therefore then the values and the desired behaviors we want in the people that join our organization. And then basically you spend some time, I would tell you to spend some time with AI, with ChatGPT or Claude or whoever, or whatever I should say, and basically say, give me a list of 10 to 20 questions that I can ask, basically, that will help me understand whether or not somebody believes in this process and everything else. And it is therefore going to kind of act, day in and day out in this particular manner. And I would also use what I call the sort of behavioral interviewing process, which is outline for people what a typical day looks like, and then basically ask them, when have they, kind of engaged in similar like activity. It doesn't have to be exactly the same activity, but in similar activity, what did they find challenging about it? What is it they accomplished with it? And do they thrive on that, or do they kind of need more of, say, an in-office experience, as an example? And just kind of work through those in an almost conversational pace, not in sort of an interrogation, kind of approach, because you're trying to kind of get a sense for, are they comfortable in that space? Are they going to align with your brand, with your values, with the mission in terms of bringing this equipment to rural GPs? So it's really important that you get that formula down. I call that basically in marketing, they call it the ICP, the ideal customer profile. And in this particular case, what you're looking to craft is the ideal employee profile. And so by, again, picking apart the brand and taking a look at the, the daily activity, what the mission is, what you'd hope that these GPs see in you, you want to basically recreate that in the people that you're going to be hiring on. Now, how do you get people excited about it? This goes back again to, kind of getting people engaged in a purpose that is greater than themselves, that's going to help, thousands of people, that is truly going to kind of leave a legacy and a positive mark on the world. And doing things that the big giant corporate monsters, frankly, can't even for a second consider, because they're all about quarterly earnings and continued growth and eating up more market share and all those wonderful, horrible things that big capitalistic companies do by their very nature. You are very much the opposite of that. You basically are focused on patient integrity and efficacy first. And this is how you're going to bring that focus to earth. So you have to kind of really kind of trump up your vision and make sure that notion gets through to people. So you are filtering out folks that just, kind of don't really care so much about that, and attracting the people who in fact want to have that kind of legacy effect on humanity. I think that, frankly, is the way to do it. And then, you'd be shocked. You'd be shocked at how many people have been sat behind a desk hating what it is they do, and wanting very much, right, to kind of go on to, something much more meaningful and purposeful. There's a lot of that happening, especially in this day and age. There's a lot of dissatisfaction out there. So those would be my notions. I think if you set this stuff up properly, and again, you are very much in terms of finding the ideal employee profile, you are basically going from brand first, then mission, then vision, and then basically aligning people to the sort of values and behaviors that you want them to have, and then make sure that you are able to interview to kind of get some proof points that in fact they are truly aligned to this stuff in real life and can have a positive effect in a very short period of time. I think you will find that you actually, as much as it's going to be probably some hard work and a little bit harder because your brand's not well recognized in the market, but when you get these chunks of information out there, you will very immediately, start finding the people who I think are going to resonate and gravitate in your direction. But that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, that's some brilliant points, and I know I'm probably going to repeat some of the stuff you touched on, Jeff, but there's a few things startups can do. Number one is, yes, you don't have the brand, you may not even have the money, or maybe some of the sort of benefits that established companies have, but you've got a dream. You've got to sell that dream. That's number one, and Jeff touched a bit on that religious side of it. Number two, you mentioned it yourself. You want people to be remote and hybrid. There's plenty of people in various businesses that would love flexibility. Offer that. Two, there's plenty of people that don't feel fulfilled in the job they do. If you can help them get that fulfillment, whether it is because they want development, whether it is because they want autonomy, whether it is because they want any other benefit that they may want from this, offer that to them and focus on those strengths rather than what you don't have. And I think you'll have a better chance. And again, remember, it's not for everyone, even larger companies. And I've worked for some of the largest organizations in the world. They have, and Jeff has too, they have often a backlog of roles that they can't fill. These are people that have more money and resources than gods in a way compared to you, but still struggle to find the right people. So, don't beat yourself too much about it. Focus on your strengths. We are now, like probably very rarely, if not never before, 11 minutes over the line. So my apologies, Jeff, for keeping you this long.
Not at all.
Before I let you go, any parting words?
Wow, we talked a lot about all sorts of things. I think the overriding thing is never underestimate the power of the vision and the mission that you're undertaking in terms of being able to convince people. And this has come up over and over again throughout our session today. And Anton put a nice fine point on it. You know, people do have this really strong sense of needing to fulfill that spiritual whole that we're all born with in some weird shape or form. And we spend a large chunk of our lives kind of looking to fulfill that. It's not just about the money. It's not just about getting stuff done. It's not just about the material things we own. Those things can be nice and can be interesting and fun, but they're very, very temporary. The thing that really kind of like, you know, kind of touches us powerfully is filling that hole in the soul. And I think it's a really powerful message to lead your company by from a values and behavioral standpoint, as long as, of course, you live those values first and show people what it means. It's amazing what you can get from people in terms of their productivity, their sense of discretionary effort, their sense of you know, kind of bringing them their entire selves to work as opposed to just the bit that actually gets work done. So I wouldn't underestimate that. Make that front and center, especially early days as you're building your organization up. And I think I will end it there, Anton.
Here, well, thank you very much for your support today, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Again, thank you very much to all 4 contestants for our Startup of the Month campaign. You ladies were amazing. Obviously, very well done to Pauline and Becca with 36 Buzz Productions, which is a mental health and wellness app that focuses, at least initially, on reggae to get people to a better place. So, with that in mind, just a quick reminder. Number 1, those of you that have tuned in via YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, please remember that unfortunately we are unable to monitor your questions there. So next time, if you would like to join us, please do that via our Microsoft Teams calls. What we'll do is by tonight, you should have our future sessions all published on our website, startup2scaleup.club. And there you'll be able to RSVP to your preferred session. As far as how this works is we run 6 regular Q&As helping founders go from startup to scale up. Mondays, as you can see today, it's talent. Tuesdays, it's product and tech. Wednesdays, it's growth. Thursdays, it's fundraising. Second Friday of the month, it's UK startup law. And third Friday of the month, it's UK startup finances. And by the way, both Jeff and the audience here, feel free to type your LinkedIn profile in the chat here for people that will see the recording of this. Now, if you want to join any of those sessions, you'll need to go to our website, hopefully this evening. They'll be all live, where you can then RSVP to your preferred one. Or the best thing to do is once you go to the website, click on that WhatsApp icon that you see at the top and bottom of our website, where you'll be able to then get alerts and join the community, but also get alerts to all future sessions. On the other hand, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting, but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter. Otherwise, have a great afternoon. See you tomorrow for Startup Product and Tech, where we'll help some founders build your early stage product and technology. Have a great evening, and again, and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.